First Contact and Ultimatum. The massive alien vessel appeared silently over the Pacific Ocean on a clear Tuesday morning. Unlike the dramatic arrivals in science fiction films, there were no city-wide shadows, no breaking news interruptions, just a sleek obsidian craft reflecting the sun's rays as it hovered 20 miles above the water. By the time global radar systems registered the anomaly, the vessel had been in position for nearly 3 hours. Captain Maya Chen was finishing her morning coffee at Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam when the alert came through. As commander of Earth's newly formed Space Defense Initiative, she'd spent the last 5 years preparing for this exact scenario, though most of her colleagues had treated it as a theoretical exercise. "Ma'am, you need to see this," her XO, Lieutenant Commander Jackson, said as he burst into her office without knocking. His tablet displayed a real-time satellite feed of the object. "How long has it been there?" Chen asked, setting down her mug. "Best estimate is 3 hours. It's not broadcasting any signals. Just sitting there." Chen studied the image. The craft was unlike anything humanity had designed, a perfect ellipsoid with no visible propulsion systems, no external features at all. "Who else knows? Security Council has been notified. They're assembling now." Within the hour, Chen found herself in a video conference with the UN Security Council, various defense ministers, and the world's top scientists. Before they could formulate a response, the alien vessel transmitted its first message, a simple, text-only communication in perfect English, simultaneously broadcast to every connected device on the planet. "Greetings, humans of Earth. We represent the Galactic Coalition, a union of 94 spacefaring civilizations. We come in peace and wish to establish formal diplomatic relations. We request a meeting with your planetary representatives in 24 hours. The message included coordinates for a meeting location, an empty field outside Geneva, Switzerland. As Earth scrambled to assemble a diplomatic team, Maya Chen was appointed as the military advisor to UN Secretary-General Amara Okafor. Scientists, linguists, and political leaders from around the globe converged on Geneva, establishing a hasty protocol for humanity's first official extraterrestrial contact. "How do we even begin to prepare for this?" Okafor asked Chen as their transport flew toward the meeting site. The Secretary-General was a tall, composed woman who had navigated countless international crises, but even she couldn't hide the nervous tremor in her voice. "We listen more than we speak," Chen replied, checking the small sidearm concealed beneath her dress uniform. "And we make no commitments until we fully understand what we're dealing with." The meeting site transformed overnight as a temporary structure materialized, a transparent dome that seemed to bend light around its edges. Inside, a delegation of 6 aliens waited. They varied dramatically in appearance, some humanoid, others decidedly not, but all wearing matching silver garments with intricate blue insignias. The lead ambassador introduced himself as Elix, a tall, slender being with iridescent skin and 4 arms. His melodic voice needed no translation device. "We have observed your planet for some time." Elix began after formal introductions were exchanged. "Your species has reached a critical developmental threshold. You have mastered nuclear energy, begun exploring your solar system, and developed primitive artificial intelligence. These achievements qualify Earth for coalition membership." For the next 3 hours, Elix described the benefits of joining the Galactic Coalition. Advanced medical knowledge that would eliminate most human diseases, clean energy technology, faster than light travel, and access to thousands of inhabited worlds for trade and cultural exchange. Secretary-General Okafor listened carefully, asking measured questions about the coalition's structure and governance. When she inquired about membership requirements, Elix's demeanor shifted subtly. "All member species must adhere to coalition protocols," he explained, projecting a holographic document. "These ensure harmony and prevent conflicts that once plagued our galaxy." As Chen scanned the document, her military training alerted her to carefully worded clauses hidden among the diplomatic language. Earth would be required to dismantle all nuclear weapons, halt space military development, suspend artificial intelligence research, and submit 40% of its natural resources to coalition management. These are standard provisions, Helix assured them. All coalition members operate under these guidelines. Over the next 3 days, Earth's representatives analyzed the proposed treaty while maintaining cordial discussions with the coalition delegation. Private debates among Earth's leaders grew heated as the implications became clear. They're not offering partnership, Chen argued during a closed session. They're demanding submission. Look at these technology restrictions. They specifically target areas where humanity is advancing rapidly. Dr. Victor Reynolds, a quantum physicist from MIT, pointed to another concerning provision. They're requiring us to use their standardized communication networks and abandon research into quantum entanglement communications. That's precisely the field where we've made breakthrough discoveries they might not possess. As the analysis deepened, a pattern emerged. Every restriction in the coalition agreement seemed designed to keep Earth dependent on coalition technology, while extracting resources and limiting human innovation in key areas. On the 4th day, Secretary General Okafor requested a private meeting with Helix. "We've reviewed your generous offer," she began diplomatically. However, several provisions raised concerns. Helix's expression remained unchanged. "These are non-negotiable standards that ensure galactic stability. Every coalition member operates under identical guidelines. And if Earth cannot accept these specific terms," Okafor asked. For the first time, Helix's composure faltered. In the coalition's history, no species has ever declined membership. It would be unprecedented. Nevertheless, Okafor continued, "Earth must respectfully decline membership under these terms. We remain open to negotiating an alternative agreement that respects our sovereignty." The meeting chamber fell silent. The other coalition representatives exchanged glances that Chen interpreted as alarm. "Perhaps you do not fully comprehend the opportunity being presented," Helix said, his voice taking on a harder edge. "Non-member species are prohibited from expanding beyond their home system. You would be alone in a dangerous galaxy." "We understand the implications," Chen interjected. "But humanity values its independence. The restrictions your coalition demands are incompatible with our principles of self-determination." Helix's skin pulsed with what seemed to be agitation. "This response is unexpected. I must consult with the Coalition Council. We will reconvene in 2 planetary rotations." As the coalition delegation departed, Chen turned to Okafor. "They never anticipated rejection. Their entire system depends on species falling in line." Okafor nodded grimly. "Which makes us dangerous to them, not because we want conflict, but because we represent an idea they can't control." 2 days later, Helix returned, accompanied by a higher-ranking official introduced as Supreme Counselor Zrix, a being composed of what appeared to be crystalline structures that shifted and realigned as he moved. "Your decision is most unfortunate," Zrix announced without preamble. "Allow me to clarify the consequences of non-membership." The holographic display showed Earth surrounded by automated monitoring stations. "Your system will be quarantined. No spacefaring civilization will be permitted to contact Earth. Your transmissions will be blocked. Your vessels will be turned back if they attempt to venture beyond Mars." "These sound like threats, Counselor," Okafor observed calmly. "Merely procedures," Zrix replied. "The Coalition maintains order through consistent application of our protocols. We offer you one final opportunity to reconsider." Earth's response was delivered the following morning by a unified front of world leaders standing shoulder to shoulder. "Earth declines coalition membership under the proposed terms," Okafor announced. "We remain open to establishing relations based on mutual respect and sovereignty, but we will not surrender our right to self-determination." As the coalition delegation departed, their massive ship rising silently into the atmosphere, Chen stood beside Okafor at the observation point. "What happens now?" asked the Secretary General. Chen watched the alien vessel disappear into the clouds. Now we prepare. They'll be back, and they won't be offering membership next time. Light years away, the Coalition Council chamber erupted into chaos as Rix delivered Earth's response. In 10,000 years of Coalition history, no species had ever twice declined membership. The implication sent shockwaves through the carefully ordered galactic power structure. "This cannot be tolerated," hissed Councillor Drex, his scaled hide flushing with anger. "The humans must be contained before they inspire others." In the corner of the chamber, Ambassador Tellus of the Viraki, one of the oldest Coalition species, watched silently. For the first time in centuries, something unpredictable had happened in the galaxy. Tellus found it strangely exhilarating. Preparation and innovation. The Coalition's quarantine of the Sol system began methodically. Automated sentinel platforms materialized at the heliopause, the boundary where the sun's influence gave way to interstellar space. Earth's long-range telescopes observed the platforms taking position, forming a perfect sphere around the solar system. On Earth, the initial panic subsided into determined resolve. The unified response to the Coalition's ultimatum had done what decades of diplomatic efforts couldn't achieve: genuine global cooperation. Former adversaries found common purpose in preparing humanity for whatever came next. Captain Maya Chen, now promoted to admiral and given command of Earth's combined space forces, established her headquarters beneath the Cheyenne Mountain complex. Her days blurred together as she coordinated the rapid expansion of Earth's defensive capabilities. "We have approximately 5 years," she told the assembled military and scientific leaders during a strategy session 6 months after the quarantine began. Based on the Coalition's communication patterns and the positioning of their Sentinel platforms, they're not planning immediate military action. They expect isolation to break us, to make us desperate enough to accept their terms. Dr. Elias Kane, a brilliant but eccentric physicist who had been studying the limited samples of Coalition technology, raised his hand. "They've underestimated our resourcefulness. Their quarantine is actually working in our favor." "Explain," Chen prompted. Kane activated a holographic display showing the Sentinel platforms. "These devices aren't just blocking outgoing ships. They're actively scanning and analyzing all transmissions from Earth. They want to monitor our technological progress." "How is that working in our favor?" asked General Rodriguez of the North American Defense Command. Kane smiled. "Because we know they're watching, and we can control what they see. Meanwhile, the real work happens under their radar." Under Kane's guidance, Earth established visible research facilities that appeared to be working on technologies the Coalition would expect: incremental improvements to existing systems. Meanwhile, deep underground and inside hollowed-out asteroids, the actual breakthroughs were taking place. 14 months into the quarantine, Kane made his first major discovery. While examining the quantum signature of Coalition communication systems, he identified a fundamental difference in how they approached faster-than-light information transfer. "They're using a brute force approach," he explained to Chen during a secure briefing. "They'd found one solution to FTL communication and standardized it across their entire civilization. But there are other methods, potentially more efficient ones they haven't explored because innovation isn't their strong suit." Kane's team developed what they called the quantum mesh, a communication system that operated on principles the Coalition's technology couldn't detect. Within 2 years, Earth had established a secret communication network that completely bypassed the quarantine. Meanwhile, Earth's military capabilities expanded rapidly. The first true combat-capable spacecraft, the EDF Defiant, launched under cover of a civilian mining operation. It was soon joined by 5 sister ships, all incorporating hybrid technology that combined human innovation with reverse-engineered Coalition principles. 3 years into the quarantine, the first Coalition probe penetrated the inner solar system, disguised as an asteroid. Earth's intelligence services had anticipated this move and allowed the probe to observe only what they wanted the Coalition to see: a civilization struggling with isolation, but making predictable technological progress. When the probe departed, It carried terabytes of carefully curated information back to Coalition space. What it didn't detect was the network of defensive platforms now hidden throughout the asteroid belt, the advanced manufacturing facilities on Mars and Luna, or the breakthrough in shield technology that Dr. Sofia Rivera had developed by studying the fundamental principles behind Coalition energy systems. On the far side of the moon, Admiral Chen surveyed the nearly completed lunar shipyards. "How many vessels can we produce once this facility is operational?" she asked the project director. "One destroyer-class ship every 60 days, he replied. "Smaller vessels at a rate of 2 per month." Chen nodded in satisfaction. "And the special project?" The director led her to a heavily secured observation deck overlooking an enormous construction bay. Inside, technicians swarmed around the frame of a massive ship, unlike anything humanity had built before. "The Prometheus is at 70% completion," the director said. "Dr. Kane's drive system was successfully tested last month. Once operational, it will be able to bypass the Sentinel network entirely. And the Coalition won't see it coming," Chen said softly. In Coalition space, the monitoring data from the Sol system was causing concern among intelligence analysts. Director Morax of Coalition Security presented his findings to the Council. "The humans are progressing faster than anticipated," Morax reported, displaying comparative technological analyses. Despite quarantine conditions, they've maintained a 4.3% annual growth rate in key technologies. "This exceeds our projections by a significant margin." "How is this possible?" demanded Councillor Drix. "Without access to Coalition knowledge networks, they should be stagnating. Their social structure encourages competitive innovation," Morax explained. "Unlike our guided consensus approach, they pursue thousands of parallel development paths simultaneously. While inefficient in many ways, it occasionally produces unexpected results." "What do you recommend?" asked Councillor Tellis, the elderly Viraki who had been watching Earth's situation with growing interest. Morax's expression darkened. "The quarantine strategy is failing. The longer we wait, the more difficult containment will become. I recommend immediate intervention to halt their military development and force compliance with Coalition standards." Drix considered this recommendation. "Prepare a containment fleet. We will demonstrate the consequences of defying the Coalition order." Only Tellis voiced objection. "We are making a grave error. These humans have shown they do not respond to coercion as other species do. Perhaps dialogue." "The time for dialogue has passed," Drix interrupted. "The Council has maintained galactic stability for 10 millennia. We will not allow one primitive species to disrupt the order we have built." As the Council voted overwhelmingly to approve military action, Director Morax received a troubling report from his intelligence operatives. A Coalition trade vessel had detected unusual energy signatures from Jupiter's moon Europa, signatures that suggested technology far beyond what humans should possess. "Impossible," Morax muttered, studying the readings. "They couldn't have developed this independently in just 5 years." But the evidence was irrefutable. Somehow, humanity had made a quantum leap in energy manipulation, one that even the Coalition's most advanced civilizations had only theorized about. For the first time in his long career, Morax felt a flicker of doubt. The Coalition was about to engage an enemy they didn't fully understand. Back on Earth, Dr. Kane burst into Admiral Chen's office without knocking. "They're coming," he announced, his eyes wide with excitement rather than fear. The quantum mesh just detected a massive fleet assemblage in the Proxima Centauri system. Chen nodded calmly. "How long do we have?" "Based on their propulsion signatures, 3 weeks until they reach the outer system." "Then it's time," Chen said, activating a secure communication channel. "Authorize Operation Prometheus, and contact Secretary General Okafor. Tell her the Coalition has made their choice. Now they'll see ours." Throughout the solar system, hidden facilities sprang into action as humanity prepared to defend itself against an enemy that had never faced serious resistance in its 10,000-year history. Confrontation and new order. The Coalition fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system with overwhelming force. 172 warships representing the combined military might of nearly 100 civilizations. At their center, the dreadnought Immutable Law served as the command vessel for Supreme Admiral Krell of the Hexadon, a veteran of countless enforcement actions. Scanners detect no significant defensive measures, reported Krell's tactical officer. Human military vessels are concentrated near their homeworld. Primitive designs, minimal shielding. No match for our capabilities. Krell studied the holographic display with 6 eyes, each focusing on different tactical information. After 50 years of commanding coalition forces, he had never faced genuine resistance. Enforcement actions typically ended with a single demonstration of coalition firepower, followed by immediate capitulation. Initiate standard containment protocol, Krell ordered. Disable their orbital infrastructure first. Then target military installations on the surface. Minimal casualties. We want submission, not extermination. The fleet advanced methodically toward Earth, sending automated warning broadcasts ahead. Attention humans of Earth. You have rejected lawful coalition authority. Your system is now under military occupation. Disarm all weapons systems and prepare to receive coalition administrators. Resistance will result in escalating consequences. In the command center beneath Cheyenne Mountain, Admiral Chen and Secretary General Okafor watched the coalition fleet's approach on a 3-dimensional display. They're following standard tactics, Chen observed, exactly as the Proxima Centauri intercepts predicted. No adaptation, no variation. Okafor's expression remained calm, though her hands betrayed her tension as they gripped the edge of the console. Are we ready? Chen nodded. All units are in position. Dr. Kane's countermeasures are deployed. The Prometheus is standing by. Then may whatever gods exist help us all, Okafor said softly. Initiate Hydra Protocol. Throughout the solar system, hidden defensive platforms activated simultaneously. The Coalition fleet, expecting token resistance at most, suddenly found itself surrounded by energy signatures that hadn't been there seconds before. On the Immutable Law, alarms blared as sensors detected the emerging threat. Impossible, exclaimed the tactical officer. We're detecting hundreds of weapons platforms throughout the asteroid belt. They weren't there during our approach scan. Before Admiral Krell could issue new orders, the platforms opened fire. Instead of conventional energy weapons, they emitted precisely calibrated quantum field distortions, technology based on Dr. Kane's breakthroughs. The distortions didn't attack the coalition ships directly, but rather disrupted their shield harmonics. Shields failing across the fleet, reported the communications officer, her voice rising in panic. 37 vessels reporting critical systems failure. Krell had never encountered such technology. Evasive maneuvers. Return fire on all platforms. The coalition ships scattered, firing their main weapons at the human platforms. Some were destroyed, but for each one eliminated, 2 more seemed to appear. Sir, new contacts emerging from behind Mars and the lunar surface. The sensor operator called out. Earth's first wave of actual battleships moved into attack position. 40 vessels that had been concealed in underground lunar hangars and Martian canyons. Though smaller than their coalition counterparts, they moved with surprising agility, targeting the now vulnerable coalition vessels with precision strikes. How is this possible? Krell demanded, watching as his carefully organized fleet fell into disarray. Their technology was nowhere near this level 5 years ago. The answer came in the form of a massive ship emerging from the shadow of Jupiter. The Prometheus, humanity's first supercarrier. Nearly twice the size of any coalition vessel, it moved with impossible speed for its mass, its hull absorbing coalition weapons fire without visible effect. In Earth's command center, Chen watched the battle unfold with intense focus. Prometheus is taking heavy fire, but shields are holding at 82%. Enemy fleet is fragmenting into defensive clusters. And Phase 2? Okafor asked. Commencing now. Throughout the coalition fleet, Communication systems suddenly failed as Dr. Kane's quantum mesh technology initiated its second function, targeted information warfare. Each coalition vessel received different tactical data, creating confusion and preventing coordinated response. On the immutable law, Admiral Krell struggled to regain control of the situation. Restore fleet communications. Regroup at coordinates. His order was interrupted as a holographic projection materialized on his command deck. Secretary General Okafor, her expression resolute. Admiral Krell, this demonstration represents a fraction of Earth's defensive capabilities. We have no desire for prolonged conflict. Withdraw your forces, and the coalition will suffer no further losses. Krell's pride overrode his tactical assessment. The coalition does not negotiate with. A precisely targeted energy pulse from the Prometheus struck the immutable law, bypassing its secondary shields and disabling its primary weapon systems without destroying the vessel. That was your main battle cannon, Okafor continued calmly. The next strike will disable your propulsion. The third will target life support. I ask again, withdraw your forces. For the first time in coalition history, an enforcement fleet faced not just resistance but potential defeat. Krell looked around his damaged bridge, at the tactical displays showing nearly 40 coalition vessels disabled or destroyed, and made the only logical choice. Coalition forces, disengage and withdraw to fallback coordinates, he ordered, his voice heavy with the weight of unprecedented failure. As the coalition fleet retreated, leaving their damaged vessels behind, ripples of shock spread throughout galactic civilization. No military force had ever successfully resisted the coalition. The news reached the council chamber before the fleet even exited the Sol system. This is catastrophic, exclaimed Councillor Drex. If word spreads that humans defeated our enforcement fleet, it already has. Councillor Tellus interrupted, displaying reports from across coalition space. And the consequences are precisely what I feared. On a dozen worlds, subject species that had long chafed under coalition restrictions were beginning to question the established order. On the industrial world of Kellen Prime, workers had halted resource shipments to coalition depots. In the Sagittarius Arm, 3 previously compliant civilizations had formed a mutual defense pact inspired by Earth's example. In an emergency session 3 days later, the Coalition Council faced an unprecedented crisis. Supreme Councillor Zrix found himself confronting not just external resistance, but internal fracturing as well. The Coalition has maintained peace for 10 millennia. Zrix reminded the assembled representatives. We cannot allow one aberrant species to unravel everything we've built. Perhaps, suggested Councillor Tellus, the problem is not with the humans but with our approach. For too long, we have enforced uniformity at the expense of innovation. The humans have demonstrated that there are other paths to advancement. What are you proposing? Zrix demanded. A new model of galactic governance, Tellus replied. One that allows for greater autonomy while maintaining necessary cooperation. The humans have shown no desire for conquest, only for self-determination. The debate raged for weeks while Earth waited. Finally, a coalition diplomatic vessel, not a warship, appeared in Earth orbit, requesting permission to land. In Geneva, at the same site where the first contact had occurred, Secretary General Okafor and Admiral Chen met with a new coalition delegation led by Councillor Tellus himself. The Coalition Council has authorized me to negotiate a new form of relationship, Tellus began. Not membership as previously defined, but a mutual recognition agreement that respects Earth's sovereignty. Over the next month, a new treaty took shape, one that established Earth as an independent power with the right to develop its own technology and expand throughout its local sector of space. In return, humanity agreed to share certain innovations and participate in a new galactic forum where all species would have equal voice. On the day the treaty was signed, Admiral Chen stood with Dr. Kane on the observation deck of the lunar base, looking out at Earth. Do you think they'll honor it? Kane asked, adjusting his glasses. The coalition has operated the same way for thousands of years. Chen smiled. They don't have much choice. Their perfect system depended on unquestioning compliance. We've shown the galaxy that alternatives are possible. Throughout coalition space, change spread like ripples from a stone cast into still water. The rigid hierarchy that had maintained order for millennia was giving way to something more dynamic, more adaptable. Some coalition members resisted the change, but others embraced it, finding new freedom to innovate and explore paths previously forbidden. As Earth prepared to send its first diplomatic missions to neighboring star systems, including several former coalition worlds now seeking independent alliances, Secretary General Okafor addressed the United Nations General Assembly. 5 years ago, humanity faced a choice between comfortable submission and difficult independence, she said. By choosing the harder path, we have not only preserved our freedom, but helped create a new galactic order. One based on cooperation rather than control, on innovation rather than stagnation. In the audience, Admiral Chen listened with pride, though she knew the challenges ahead remained significant. The coalition's old guard would not surrender power easily, and humanity's expansion would inevitably bring new conflicts and difficult choices. But for the first time, the galaxy's future would be shaped not by the dictates of an ancient hierarchy, but by the collective choices of free civilizations. And humanity, the unlikeliest of catalysts, had earned its place among the stars not through conquest, but by simply refusing to surrender its most essential quality, the determination to chart its own course. In coalition space, young Vrexel of the Mindani stared in wonder at the first human diplomatic vessel to visit his homeworld. For generations, his people had accepted coalition limitations as the natural order. Now, inspired by Earth's example, they had begun to question, to innovate, to imagine new possibilities. They look so much like us, Vrexel observed to his parent, yet they changed everything. Not because they were stronger, his parent replied, wisdom gleaming in her compound eyes, but because they were stubborn enough to believe there must be a better way. As stars wheeled overhead, the galaxy continued its transformation, not through catastrophic war as many had feared, but through the power of an idea whose time had finally come. The age of the coalition was ending. What would replace it remained to be written by 1,000 worlds newly awakened to the possibilities of self-determination. And it had all begun with a simple, unprecedented,